how do you find that neuroscience has kind of given you a deeper understanding of your personal daily life? Waking up in the morning, having a schedule, making sure you get the right amount of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
On a deeper scientific level, how do those things play out in your life?
It is definitely, even remembering myself from the time before I became a scientist is obviously a completely different person. So that layer of all of these gadgets of knowledge that changed my perception of the world through the understanding of science has been a drastic change, dramatic to who I am and how I see the world, of course. Not only I use not just neuroscience, just use science and biology in general from many different perspectives in my daily life. And I love to call it biohacking, which is a term that is used now. It's a very trendy term for using the knowledge of biology and knowledge of science in order to optimize your human performance. But I also love the words such as mind hacking and soul hacking, which is using different experience in order to enter different states and to change your perceptual personal experience of the reality. So that goes into realm of some of the practices that I do, like you've mentioned sleep. I'm very religious about my sleep. People really under-evaluate and underestimate how much importance sleep has for brain function. Like for in studies of, I'm not even going to get into it because it's a whole different subject.
This leads me to an interesting question, actually. There are a lot of people, and this happens to all of us at any given moment, when we're in college studying for exams, we'll end up sleeping till 2, waking up at 6, and not getting the proper amount of sleep because we're studying. And I've come to realize, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, it's so much better to push off that studying for the next day, but make sure you get those 8 hours in and keep that constant schedule. Meaning, you have a 2-week window to study for a final. Don't cram it. This is obvious. Don't cram it all in the last 2 days. You end up getting no sleep. You're much less likely to do well. And everyone's like, no shit, Rafi, congratulations. But if you really stick to this plan, and this is not something I stuck to in school. I was not good about this. But if you stick to, say, a 2-week window, you give yourself exactly 2 weeks, and you make sure that at 10 p.m., no matter how much you need to study, you're done for the night, you get those 8 hours, and then you do it again. And this way, even though you didn't feel like you really busted your ass, you didn't spend, you didn't stay up till 2 a.m., there's this regimented schedule where you're getting the proper sleep, so my question essentially is that a much better, more effective thing to do? I mean, I would assume without a doubt, but what do you think?
So I think it's a very interesting question, and I don't know much about specific studies in what is best for memory retention. In my perception, it obviously would be better, but especially for long-term effects, proper sleep is very important. But there are immediate effects of improper sleep that you would always feel next day.
Sure.
When the brain is just not optimally functioning. For short-term memory retention, it could work cramming in the last night, because next day you may still remember but forget it the day after. So it's just not best for the long-term memory retention. But proper sleep is huge, both in physical performance, in our eating habits, but also in stress responses. And that comes into how we treat ourselves, how we treat others. There's just so many facets of how it can play out.
That leads me to another question. Do you notice how there are some people that always say they're tired, no matter what happens? I think there are some people that have a fatigue issue. And it could be diet, lack of exercise, lack of actual sleep. But I think there are some people mentally that just have this I'm tired attitude. They just are always tired. And if they kind of do it maybe for like a pity thing, like, feel bad for me, I'm so productive and I'm so busy all the time, I'm so tired. But I feel like if you constantly say that, you're going to convince yourself that you're always tired. Does that make sense? On a neurological level.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But let me just tap into this a little further. So I see it all from both perspectives of from the level of mental, intellectual feeding that like projects into the capabilities of the body and the mind, and the physiological perspective. So there's this connection which is still, I'm not even going to say that I'm speaking from a scientific perspective, because everything that we experience in the daily
Elena,
basis
you always sound like, it always kind of sounds like a scientific.
yes, also because I have an accent. It
No.
sounds smarter.
Well, maybe, but I think you speak in a way that's very scientific. I feel like it could be a very simple thing, like a water bottle, and you'll just make it sound like science.
It is science.